Welcome to this week's episode of the Brew Crew Chronicles. Once again, I am loading you with another fantastic guest, and I have Brendan from BlackRock.
How's it going?
Good. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
We're cracking into the BIB Lager kit. I absolutely love this one. I think that it is everything that you want a beer to be. Like, it's beer that tastes like beer. She's beautifully clear. And as you said, like, geez, that tastes good. No hops or anything.
No, no, it's really clean. It's really crisp and just reminds me of like a really nice Aussie draft on a summer's day.
Yeah. And it's quite warm out there. You think, mowing the lawn, Friday afternoons, like it hits every occasion.
Exactly.
Awesome. So I brought you along because not too long ago I was able to sit down and have a chat with you, and you kind of highlighted specifically the BIBs, but also everything that BlackRock does. And I was like, can you please sit down with me and basically tell everyone, because it was such useful information. I think sometimes as home brewers, we grab our stuff off the shelf and we don't know where it comes from or the development that goes into it. And I have said it in previous episodes, I've said it to you, I think BlackRock are leading the charge in terms of transparency, quality of products. You are trending or making a trend for, I guess, everyone else to follow. And what you're doing is brilliant. So we'll start with who's BlackRock. I know you've been around for a very long time. But certainly in the Australian market, I feel like we're only just really seeing you at the forefront.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so BlackRock is it's a New Zealand homebrew brand. It's been around for 20 odd years, and we've always been about quality.
Yeah.
And we've always been specific to only specialist homebrew retailers, and we export to about 15 different countries around the world.
Yeah, wow.
We have always prided ourselves on the quality of our extracts. We only use 100% malt barley. We only use specialty malt from Gladfields in South Canterbury. We try and use as much as we can from the sources that are closest to us. So
Yeah.
New Zealand hops and all of our products go through a full brew house process. So they go right from the mash tun through the lauter, the kettle, whirlpool, and then very gently evaporated to the right consistency. So in our canned product, it's to 80 bricks, which is essentially taking 80% of the water out of the product. And in our bag and box product is 70 bricks. So a little bit more water. Easy to use. You can pour it straight out of the bag. You might not have to heat the cans very much in Queensland here, but certainly in cold climates like New Zealand, you have to sit the cans in hot water for 10-15 minutes before you pour them out. These bag and box are very pourable at ambient temperature. So
Yeah, I watched some of the other fellas do it and they were even like rinsing it out, but I still haven't rinsed one of mine out when I've put it down because it is just so light. It's so, I guess, watery, liquidy. I've said it in every video, like they're so easy to use. Have I forgot something? Like it almost feels because there's no effort into them. And I know that the development of the bag and the box was really to kind of be that in between your extract and fresh wort. I think that the quality is certainly hitting that fresh wort range, but it makes it super accessible. So price wise, we're under the fresh worts. Ease of use, I think we're very in the same range as the fresh worts. But then also for, we have a lot of viewers or customers from online who don't have access to brew shops. So it's very difficult to ship things like fresh worts. We've got a bag in the box behind you. It's not even 5 kilos. So very cheap to freight. Your risk of damage and those type of things is substantially lower to what we find with fresh worts. Like it's just such a great product to hit everyone.
Yeah.
BlackRock, we had the cans for a really long time. Fun fact, BlackRock's Pale Ale was one of Jace's most favourite brews forever. And that was one of his first ever ones that he used to do. I've obviously jumped on the BIB bandwagon. I think that it's amazing, and I'd love to hear your opinion on and why you've done it. The transparency on things like your bittering hops, the ratio of your malts, the malts that you use, because you would probably be more familiar than I. There's not many people out there that disclose that information.
I think the main thing is because we've got no secrets. Beer should be made from malt. It should be made from good quality malt. It should be made from good quality hops and good quality yeast. A lot of products, or particularly extract products, you see them on the shelf. There might be a picture of a glass of beer on the front of it, but there's no picture of what actually goes into it and how the product's made. Some people might believe that an extract can that's sitting on the shelf is just something that's made in a factory somewhere, has nothing to do with beer or brewing, and it's not really beer. We are very focused on showing exactly what goes into our product, and it's going through a full brew house process in a commercial brewery that also produces beer, and we want our customers to get the best quality beer out of it. As you know, Shari, it's really, really, once you know what you're doing, you can make beer as good as the beers that you're buying in craft breweries.
Yeah.
So it's just unlocking that for people and showing them that there's no secrets, there's no smoke and mirrors. This is exactly what's in our product. If you like it and you are an all-grain brewer, steal our recipe if you want, but we're not hiding anything from anybody.
The other thing that I loved is that there's so many recipes. So you haven't just gone, here's a kit, brew it like this. There's, I think, 4 or 5 different recipe suggestions on the Hazy Pale. And then on the Hazy Pale Ale, I have referred so many people to your Facebook page. First of all, because you are very transparent on there. We can actually see the brew house and all those things that you're doing. But you took the feedback from the Hazy Pale Ale, where when I first poured it, the haze was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
When I did my review, the haze was still really good. Little John did his, and it had been sitting for a while, and that haze had started to drop out. And instead of, I guess, getting on the defensive, you were like, you know what? Thank you for that feedback. I will take it and I will run. And I think you did like a 10 yeast.
Yeah, we did.
It was nuts. So do you want to talk about that? Because no one in this industry has ever taken feedback and ran with it like you did there.
Yeah, well, and I think it's the way that brewing's going as well. And yes, we give you a kit with the yeast in it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the yeast that you have to use.
Yeah.
That's a yeast that we've chosen for that particular style, and if it's not hitting the market, we want to investigate why.
Yep.
So we thought it was a really good experiment, and typically we would do those sort of experiments ourselves anyway in the brewery and our pilot plant, and this is the first time we've documented it. We've taken videos, photos, and actually posted it online.
Yep.
And the engagement from it and people understanding that we actually do give a shit about the beer that our consumers or our brewers are making, that it feels like we're kind of being invited to the community of home brewers. Yeah.
And that was a big game changer for me, speaking to you. It was the first time where I really felt like when you offered me to look at the BlackRock and do the whole series, it wasn't just like, hey, brew this, we want to sell some kits. That was actually probably the last potential point on the list. It was like, hey, I don't even care if stuff goes out. I want to know what your thoughts are. I want your honest opinion. And if you are going to put it into a video, please don't put smoke and mirrors. Like, tell me if you don't like it. And it's the first time I'd ever heard it. And I was like, geez, this is fresh. Like, we genuinely care about the products that we're doing. We want people to have good beer. Mm-hmm. We want to know your feedback. We want to know everyone else's feedback. What did you like? What did you didn't? And that's unusual. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I think it's just because we back ourselves. Really.
Yeah.
We've got a brewer who's got over 35 years experience in some of the largest breweries in the world. And over the past 7 or 8 years, we have stripped back and we've looked at every single one of our recipes, every one of our products, and made it the best that it possibly can be. And we're at the point now that we're ready to showcase that to the world and show that, yeah, we're a brand that's been around a long time. It was around in the homebrew of the old days where people were blending our kits with a bag of sugar and getting a really average type beer. But what we've done with it now is taken it to the new age of craft brewing.
And then so on that, when we look at like your malt selection, your hop selection, that brewer that you spoke about, is he the one that's going, hey, this is what I want to do? Is there a team of you? Like, how are we picking the styles? How are we picking what malt is going into it? The hops, what's that process look like?
We look at trends. We look at the best beers that are currently in the market in New Zealand and Australia. We look at what's going into them, and our brewer does have the majority of the input into that side of things. And he is brilliant at what he does. So what comes out is always really, really good.
You guys were also a massive talking point when I did my podcast from Zach with Geelong, and we both highlighted how supported we as homebrew shops felt. And I think that you have a lot of opinions and are really passionate about this. So do you want to talk about, I guess, how BlackRock fits in with local homebrew shops? Like, we're essentially mum and dad family businesses, and why you've now really kind of shifted into funneling, I guess, attention on us as brew shops, supporting us. You're very open to, how can I help you? What can we do?
Well, I think in a lot of ways, home brewing is all retailers going online a lot, but you're never going to get the really good advice from a website.
Yeah.
You can make as many how-to videos as you like, but being able to come in and talk to yourself, talk to mum and dad homebrew shop about what you are thinking you want to do, the best ways to do it, or even if you've never brewed before. Me, myself, I am not someone that can sit there and watch a YouTube video and go, right, I'm taking up a hobby of this.
Yeah.
I'd much rather go into my local homebrew shop, immerse myself in everything that they've got available, talk to the experts about what they can recommend and how you can change things. And it really is the lifeblood of this industry is the local homebrew shop. You go into a homebrew shop, our local one in Dunedin, I can go in there on a Friday afternoon and just spend the whole afternoon standing there talking to people that come in, and before you know it, like 4 hours are gone, because that's exactly the type of people that are involved in this hobby are great people. They want to talk about what they've done, they want to talk about what they're about to do, they want to talk about their successes, they want to talk about their failures. But it's certainly a lot less transactional than what you find in most retail spaces. It's a real close-knit community, even though you could be in a different country, but the community feels very close-knit.
Yeah, and that's, I think, a huge focus for me, is building this community, and not even just with me specifically, really going, hey, go into your local homebrew shop, have a chat. There is so much that you can learn, because most of us behind the counter have brewed every single way possible. We've had our failures, we've had our successes. We've got a bit of knowledge under our belt. And even if it's not just what we share, it's just having that conversation, because you never know what little juicy bits are going to come out that you can take and learn from. And I think that's absolutely unmatched. But back to the bag in the box, because I think that it is something that really does deserve to be kind of highlighted. What do you think is the most exciting part of that specific range?
I think the most exciting part about them is that they have been made from scratch, in terms of a lot of our other wort streams that we have in the cans were made. Some of them, they have been fine-tuned, but some of them were made sort of 20 to 25 years ago.
Yeah.
They were specifically made for only using half of the fermentable, so the bitterness is twice as what it would be if you were to brew it on its own. And we've had a whole craft revolution since in the last 5 to 10 years as well. So these wort streams were built specifically for that craft wort stream. there's a lot of work gone into them in terms of the blends of the malts and the way that they go through the brew house. Looking at the craft beer trends, and that you can get this little bag of extract, mix it with water, and you are getting something that is as good as a craft beer.
Definitely. I think my most excitable or favorite part of them was the fact that I could have such a high quality beer, but it was so accessible and it was new. The only kind of real product development that we see is the fresh work kits. For some customers and other brewers, they're sometimes priced at a point where they just don't want to jump there. I think the quality is worth the price, and we can justify price for lots of different things if we want to. Some people just don't want to jump that far. But for me, it was like, we've spoken about the shipping and stuff in case you don't have a homebrew shop, but price point for what we were getting was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. And I think one thing to note as well about the bag and box kits is they're not actually that different at all to a fresh work kit.
No.
There's one thing, the one major difference that you might get with a fresh work kit is if they've been whirlpool hopped or if there's been aromatic hops added in the brew house. So when it comes to concentrating wort, you lose that through the evaporation process. And when we were talking about an evaporation process, lots of people think of this 15,000 litres of wort that's been boiled for 10 or 20 hours and it just becomes this sticky, overburnt
That's
stuff.
what I thought, and then you taught me different.
But the evaporation process is actually, it's a very gentle process, and there's no additional heating added to it. It comes out of the brew house at boiling point, directly to an evaporator, and it's actually vacuum evaporated through a 3-stage evaporator as it cools.
Yeah.
So each piece of wort is only actually in the evaporator for around about three minutes.
Which
comes out the other end.
Which is certainly was super interesting to me, because when I first spoke to you about it, I was like, I always wondered, because if you boil beer, it's going to taste rancid and extremely bitter. So seeing how, it's actually not held at a really high temp point for a very long period of time, and the process that it goes through was absolutely fascinating to me. So we're on the lager. I've got the Pale Ale BIB in the fermenter. I had hoped that it would be on tap for this, but I was just a bit slow. But also out the back, I've got my black lager. So I drilled and drilled and drilled about wanting to do a black lager. I can't tell you how many black lagers I have bought in an attempt to figure out what I wanted. So that I went back to, I don't know if you call them the classic cans. To me, they're classic because they're cans. I used the porter. One thing that I found so useful, and which is actually why I went with BlackRock's porter, previously Bock, is because one, it specified it was a German lager, which is where I wanted to go, because initially it was a Schwarz beer that was my inspiration for the black lager, but also all the malt and everything was right there. So I had lots of all grain Schwarz beer, black lager recipes available to me. There's not a lot in circulation for extract. And I was able to go, hey, do you know what? That ratio seems pretty close to what I want. I did choose to use a body blend, which is Dex and multi-dextrin. I'm going to dry hop it with some Euro hops. But you also decided to do, I don't know if you're calling it a black lager, off the back of some of the stuff that we'd put out.
Yeah. So I did the same thing. I used the porter, and I've instead of using the body blend, did you say you used? I used the BlackRock unhopped ultralight, which is 20% maltose and 80% lager malt.
Yeah.
So with the maltose, it gives a little bit of residual sweetness, which you like, which is always good in sort of a lager style beer. It's not 100% fermentable, so it leaves a little bit of sweetness at the end.
Yeah.
But you've still got the rest of the lager malt in there to bulk it up, to give it a bit more body and flavour. I fermented it with the W3470
Right, so I did the
at
same.
about 13 degrees. I didn't dry hop it
Okay.
because I just wanted to see how clean a lager I could get out of it, and I kept it just before I came over here, and
Have you tried it?
yeah, it's tasting really good, and it's really clean, and those toasted malts that are on it have really come through really, really quite well. And I haven't had a lot of black lagers myself,
Yeah.
so I haven't had a lot to compare it to, but it's very drinkable, very drinkable.
That's the other thing, like in my ventures, which is, I guess I spoke about doing the black lager for so long, but it was because every single week I would try a different black lager and there was no two that were the same.
Mm.
And I think that sometimes people really like those dark malts. For me, I wanted to create a beer, which is why I went for the porter as opposed to like a stout or another extract can that was on that stout range. Because for black lagers to me are the type of beers that if you don't really love dark beers, you could try that and be like, wow, that's super drinkable.
Mm.
Bitterness is quite low. You've got some roastiness, but coffee's not, it's not like you're drinking black coffee. I'm a black coffee drinker, so I like that.
Yeah.
But you don't want it overpowering. Like, I feel like if you can start getting into that realm of dark beers, it opens your palate up to so much other more exciting things, and then you are willing to try a stout or an oat cream stout or whatever it is. Do you like your dark beers? Or
There's probably one that I might brew one dark beer a year in the winter or something like that. I think the one I did this year was quite a big. I think it was a 3-can brew or something like that. It was like
wow.
7.5%. We actually did it for one of it. We do some homebrew introduction classes at the brewery where people come in and who have never brewed before, and we're just showing about how you can mix and match cans and flavors that you can add and change. And it ended up being such a big beer. It was something like, I think we used the porter, the stout, and unhopped dark.
Would have been really roasty.
We added some lactose.
Yeah.
Added a milk stout. We added some vanilla paste, I think we added. It had some cacao nibs with some chocolate flavour, and fermented it out and put it on nitro, and it was divine.
Yeah, so I finally convinced Jace to get a nitro. He has put it on tap at home. Once he's finished with it, I don't have a lot of beer on tap at home, but I do run 2 kegerators. So I will be putting like a cold brew coffee because nitro just has this thing about it that it just amplifies anything. Anything and everything. I will ask though, because you said you added lactose, so I'm doing a completely unrelated brew to what we're talking about. Being extract, when did you add your lactose?
It's best to add right at the very beginning.
Yeah, and so did you kind of do a little bit of a boil, or you just added it straight in like you would if it was decked?
Just added it straight on.
Right.
Yeah. One thing to be careful of when using lactose is it's going to muck around with your gravity readings.
Yes.
So if you take your OG and then add lactose halfway through fermentation, then you're never really going to know what your ABV is, because when you do your final gravity, that everything's going to be out of whack.
And that's because basically it's a non-fermentable sugar. So there's sugar, so it will increase your gravity, but it's actually not fermentable. So you're essentially adding sugar, distorting that gravity of sugar that's chewed through, but the lactose itself will stay there. Cool. Well, that's good feedback, because I've actually asked a couple of people. I'm going to do like a mango lactose, mango cream kind of hazy. It's just everyone has a different opinion. And I just want to do it well and I want to do it right.
And same with the fruit as well. There's always a
Yeah.
consideration when you're going to put that in.
So I was going to, so this, and you may be able to help me with this. I was going to do it on like day 4 or 5 because I am really adverse to a fermented fruit taste.
Mm-hmm.
However, what I didn't give consideration to was the fact that's going to really stuff with my gravity.
Mm-hmm.
So do I just wing it and go, well, it's somewhere between. Do you know what I mean? Which is not the worst thing because, if you're choosing to be responsible, you know that if you're going to drive, you have one schooner. It's not going to be a silly ABV. Does it really matter? What is your views on that? Have you done many with fruit?
Yeah, I did a mango IPA this year as well.
Yeah.
And that one, I think when you're talking about that sort of stewed flavour, you've got to be really careful about what quality of fruit that you're putting into it.
Can I do frozen?
I've never used actual fruit. We typically look for like really good quality fruit purees. So there's a brand that's from Australia called Tropico,
Okay.
I think, and Bintani sell it commercially. I'm not sure whether you can buy it in smaller quantities, but they have really good like mango flavour. They've got a really nice apricot flavour. We typically get those for flavoured ciders that we do for beer festivals in New Zealand, and you don't get that stewed flavour as much when you ferment on them. But what I typically would do is add mango at the beginning, allow it to ferment out, and it's obviously going to ferment with sugars, so you can end up with quite a dry taste in the end.
Especially with all the fructose. Okay.
But if you're kegging and you're going to keep it cold, I actually recommend putting some more flavouring into the keg.
So this is where, like, obviously we have like mango nectar and stuff, and because I am kegging, I can. That's annoying, isn't it? You're looking at it, I'm looking at it. It's usually closed. So because I am kegging, I could essentially add it, basically back flavor it.
Mm-hmm.
That way you're in like a juice or something like that. You're optimizing flavor. You've got no risk of contamination really, especially if you've chilled your keg first. But then on the other side, I want the fun aspect of brewing with fruit because I haven't done it yet. No advice, just like wing it. Just see how you
I haven't tried it, but I'm also looking across here at a peach seltzer that you've got.
Yeah, that's Sonny's.
It's literally got peach floating in it, and it's looking very interesting.
And it's funny looking at the evolution of that because when she first put it down, most of us were pretty reluctant. And every time I come in here, I give it a bit of a smell. And I think it's been down for almost 4 weeks now. There was a little bit of murkiness around her peaches. And initially it was very sulfury kind of smelling. But I actually said to her today, geez, that's cleared up. And the smell is actually very, very clear now.
Nice.
Anyway, I could keep you here all day, and I know you've got better things to do. So we'll start wrapping it up. What's next for BlackRock?
We're just going to keep doing what we're doing at the moment. We're working on some new recipes, which we'll be adding to our website soon. From all the trial brewing and things that we've been doing, we are looking at expanding the bag and box range, and just looking for feedback from not only homebrew shops but brewers as well. So. Anybody got any ideas on that? Let's take ideas from the floor, put it in the comments on any of these pages, and we're definitely, as you've seen, we're definitely listening to our customers and wanting to know what they want. So,
and that's really the only way you guys do get feedback, by people being like, "Hey, this is what I want to see. This is what I don't like." And the only way we as home brewers are going to see more things that we're interested in is if we actually voice that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sure you will, if you haven't had a chance to check the comment section, I will certainly be forwarding it off to you. And so definitely, if you have suggestions, if there's something that the home brewing market is missing, let us know so that we can work to develop that. And I think that you are probably the best person to do that because you're willing. Was there any other kind of closing sentiments that you had, or anything that we kind of missed today that you thought was important?
No, I think we've covered lots.
We have, haven't we? And the best place, well, the most enjoyable place I find to follow what's going on with you guys is your Facebook page. You're super active. And so for everyone else watching, is that kind of the place where we go?
Absolutely, and we'd love to hear what our brewers are doing. So get in touch with us. We're not only the Facebook page, but we also have our own Facebook group, which is called the BlackRock Brewers Group.
Yeah.
It's a private group, so really good community of people in there. When it first started, it was almost like a customer service line where people, if they wanted advice, I spent most of my time on there answering questions, but it's become such a cool community now that I can basically be hands off, and it's all of the people that are in there that brew with BlackRock frequently that are answering each other's questions. So
some great recipes and stuff too. Like I've explored it to kind of get some ideas, and sometimes Facebook forums can be a little bit cutthroat. It's probably the one that I've got on and I'm like, geez, this is pleasant. So that's really, really nice. And I guess the last thing that I think should be highlighted is your website. So you guys did a huge overhaul and have a fantastic website now, lots of resources. So I will make sure that I put that in the description below as well for anyone to check out. But I think that's basically us. I'm out. You've only got a mouthful. Time for another. Thank you.